Welcome back to another edition of In Ohio Country Today. I'm Big Dan Wilson, and this week we have several feature stories from the annual Ohio Farm Bureau Federation meeting. We want to thank our good friend Joe Corneli, who's the marketing director there at the Ohio Farm Bureau. And we have a follow-up story for you from the Gossard Farm over in Herod. Paul Gossard and Larry Boniface talking about their opening of their new egg farm there. We'll have all those stories and more this week in Ohio Country Today.
A strong community contains a lot of moving parts. Good jobs, a healthy economy, and maybe most importantly, pride. At Poet, we are proud to be doing our part, creating new local jobs and spurring economic development while producing products that improve lives around the globe. Together, we're not just working to serve our community, but to change the world. And that's something we can all be proud of. See the world differently with Poet.
Automate your existing sliding doors with Propel Automation of Ohio. Automate up to 60-foot twin sliding shed or barn doors with their award-winning patented system. And now Propel Automation of Ohio is part of Ohio Agribility Program, allowing Ohio farmers and farm families who are coping with disabilities or long-term health conditions to automate their doors. For security, safety, convenience, remember Propel Automation of Ohio. Check us out on the web at propelohio.com.
I'm Terry McClure, a fifth-generation soybean farmer. Farming can be tough, but we have the Ohio Soybean Council investing farmers' dollars to find new uses for soybeans. Their research helps develop better beans for livestock, poultry, and for people. It also helps create new products like soy-based cleaning supplies and paint cartridges. Plus, cleaner-burning soy biodiesel reduces our dependence on foreign oil. Soybeans are Ohio's #1 agricultural export. To learn more, visit soyohio.org.
Hello once again, everybody. We're at the Farm Bureau's annual meeting in Columbus, and I have the pleasure of visiting with an old friend, or maybe I should say a friend for a long time, because I'm older than Joe Corneli standing beside me. Joe, first of all, I want to congratulate you on an honor that you received recently, being inducted into the Hardin County Ag Hall of Fame.
It was a humbling experience. It tickled me to death that you, Gary, personally could be there, because you're right, we go a long way back. And when the folks back home feel it's appropriate to recognize you, it's pretty special.
It is. There were some, I think about half the people in there I knew from the time that I'd worked there, of course, being from Hardin County. But some farm broadcasters came back besides myself, and that had to make you happy.
You know, Hardin County, if you look at it, I can't think of a county in Ohio that's had more success at generating farm broadcasters. Ron Powers was at WKTN. You and I both worked for Ron. He went on to a radio station, WRFD in Columbus. You were at KTN. I was at KTN. And so, it's quite a legacy of farm broadcasting that's come out of our county.
It is. And over the years, I can tell the audience I've been so proud of what Joe has accomplished. A city boy, nonetheless, in the ag. Was it Bob Miller at WLW that helped you understand how important agriculture was?
Well, you're right. If you call Kenton being a city boy, but like you, my family's roots are in farming, and so I was around it my entire life. But I guess what I learned from Bob was not to appreciate the importance of agriculture, but to communicate that to the non-farm public, because you're absolutely right. When I worked for Bob, it was at WLW in Cincinnati, and an awful lot of people listened to that radio station that didn't understand agriculture. And so I did learn from Bob the importance of translating what we talk about in the farm community into something that the consumer can understand and appreciate, and maybe most importantly, recognize why it matters to them.
Well, you had a comment or two that really stood out to me the other evening, telling farmers that it's up to them to help tell their own story.
Well, they count on folks like you and me to help do that, and that's an appropriate role and one we're privileged to fill. But I do a lot of media relations in my current job at Ohio Farm Bureau, and reporters they don't want to talk to a paid mouthpiece. They would much rather talk to a farmer who's doing things to protect Lake Erie's water quality, a farmer who's doing things to make sure that her animals are well cared for on the farm. So, yeah, it's that authentic voice. Now, you and I both know that a lot of farmers are reluctant to do that, and if we can offer a little bit of encouragement to step up and either do it when there's a microphone in front of them or do it online and social media, it's going to go a long way.
Well, I started telling how proud I am of Joe. Now, Joe got really involved with the National Association of Farm Broadcasting, and with that, well, from visiting with farm broadcasters in Ohio, but being actively involved with farm broadcasters all over the United States, and in fact holding the position of president of the National Association of Farm Broadcasting. Joe, in that responsibility, you had a chance to visit with national and even some international leaders all around the world.
It was quite an opportunity. I guess maybe one of the scoops I remember the most, Dan Glickman had just been announced as the designate to become Secretary of Agriculture. And as you know, in the world of politics, when that happens, they go radio silent. I happened to be at a Farm Bureau meeting in Washington, D.C. I look up, and you were there, and I look up, and here comes Dan Glickman leaving just a Kansas Farm Bureau meeting. So I just had my microphone and recorder in my hand, and he said, "I don't really have time. My wife's waiting on me." I said, "That's all right. I'll walk with you." So that was kind of a scoop, getting the first interview with the gentleman that soon became a pretty popular Secretary of Agriculture.
If you were talking to some young people right now thinking about getting into farm broadcasting, what would you tell them?
I would say get some experience. You're going to probably have to start in a smaller market. That's fine. You will learn a lot. I would suggest, I wish I had a better background when I went to college. I wish I would have studied more political science. I wish I would have studied more economics, because those are extremely important issues when you want to advocate for agriculture. So get some background there, and then find a mentor. You and I both know the value of finding somebody who's in the business and has the opportunity and the willingness to kind of, bring you along. Those would be some great steps to take.
We've been visiting with Joe Corneli, a great farm broadcaster, but more importantly, just a good man and a good friend. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Gary. Appreciate the opportunity.
And stay with us, back with more right after this.
Allen Davis Insurance Agency, with 30 years commitment to the community, providing quality insurance services. Allen is a business owner and an active farmer, and he knows firsthand the pressures of running your farming operation. Call Allen today and ask about coverage for your farm, your vehicles, your equipment, crops, and more. Call 1-800-686-2148. That's 1-800-686-2148.
Fence Row Records proudly presents Mending Fences, the latest pure country album from Richard Lynch, featuring a beautiful duet with Rhonda Vincent.
Back in love again.
Available now at all fine music outlets and richardlynchband.com. That's Mending Fences from Richard Lynch. Pick up your copy today and check out our website at richardlynchband.com.
Hello once again, everybody. We're at the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation's annual meeting in Columbus. I'm visiting with Policy Counsel Leah Curtis. Leah, it's good to have you with us to discuss something that's very important to the agricultural community and something that's taken, several months, maybe a couple of years to put together. It's the success that agriculture has had with CAUV. We have some viewers that aren't really directly tied to agriculture. Can you explain what the situation was in the policy that was passed?
Sure. So CAUV is a property tax program that values land for its agricultural use. It helps keep farmers on their land and preserves farmland in the state. And what we had seen happen in the last several years was farmers saw their property taxes go up about 300% on average. And that is a big jump to have in your property taxes for anyone, but particularly with those razor-thin margins that farmers have. And at the same time, they were seeing much lower crop prices. So we worked with the legislator to make some changes to the calculation that's used to come up with those values to make sure that they are the most accurate and that they're based on actual farm data as it was intended when this policy was passed back in the 1970s.
Now, of course, with agriculture, we don't have a constant, and from year to year we'll have some peaks and valleys. And does this legislation, the new legislation, try to take that into consideration?
Yeah, so the programs always recognize that agriculture is going to have dips and spikes in its economy. What this legislation does is make sure that all of the dips and spikes that happen in CAUV are related to the farm economy. So they're the things that farmers are actually experiencing on their land is what is actually affecting their property taxes.
Now, this is something that farmers from the ground, the roots of agriculture, have worked on. It took a lot of farmers throughout the state of Ohio to help put this together. And at the same time, one of the lead organizations was the Ohio Farm Bureau.
Yeah, so our grassroots are a wonderful tool in making sure that we get things done for agriculture. And what happened was we talked with our grassroots, and our members and our board members all talked to their legislators about what they'd seen on their farm. And that's really what makes the difference, were those thousands of calls and letters and that hard work put in by our members to make sure that their legislators and elected officials understood what was happening on their farms and what needed to be done to fix it.
Of course, other organizations did assist with that overall effort. Now, as I understand it, there still needs to be things done for next year's, when you look back at 2017, because of the paperwork that maybe got done or didn't get done. And do farmers need to do something for next year?
Yes, so one part of that reform was conservation land is valued at the lowest value for CAUV. If you're on the 2017 reappraisal, you do need to talk with your auditor and make sure you certify that acreage so your auditor knows that you have that on your property. If you're in a 2018 reappraisal or update or 2019, you don't need to do it right away, but when you get your renewal form for CAUV, you'll see that on your form and you'll need to note that acreage at that time.
Okay. It probably, to some of our viewers, sounds a little complicated. If they would have a little bit of, a few questions, or would like to get some more information about the overall policy and the success of the new CAUV, what should they do to get that info?
So we would love for them to visit our website, ofbf.org. We have lots of information there. We have several podcasts as well as fact sheets that people can read to help them understand, and we'll always be happy to help them with any questions that they might have.
Very good. Leah Curtis has been our guest. Leah, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And stay with us. Back with more right after this.
I'm Greg Koffenbarger, and I'm a bacon farmer.
Brought to you by the Ohio Pork Council.
Hello once again, everybody. I have the opportunity now to visit with Brandon Kern. And Brandon, with the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation, we're going to be talking a little bit about energy. I hesitate to say his title because I can't remember. You know, it's one of those real long ones, but it involves development of energy possibilities on the farm and what farmers need to be aware of. Let's first talk about wind energy. There's a lot of windmills going on. Of course, certain parts of the state have had windmills for a while now. I know in the Van Wert County area, several along the highways, and in other areas as well. And you see a few windmills, just maybe 3 or 4 at a time, and then maybe more. What's the real kind of policy that Farm Bureau is looking at to help protect the farmer?
Well, I think it ranges from everything from the public policy being debated at the State House from time to time in terms of where and how you go about siting those windmills to the really tangible issue of what are things you should think of as a landowner that should be included in any type of lease agreement that you are going to come to with a wind energy company who wants to place a windmill on your property. So today in the delegate session we're talking about everything from should we incentivize through tax breaks and things like and tools like that the development of wind energy, all the way down to, again, that really practical, here as a landowner, here's some things you need to think about if those companies come knocking on your door and wanting to place those types of facilities on your property.
Of course, we see the windmill up in the air, but there's a wide area of land that it needs to provide that structure to keep it standing.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that gets debated particularly with the state legislature a lot, is, you know, what's the appropriate area that you need? What are the appropriate setbacks? Those are all issues that our members here at Farm Bureau have been engaged with for a long time, and we continue to do that right now at the state level. So there's even as recently as this legislative session that's going on right now, been a topic of conversation with lawmakers down on Capitol Square.
Well, from a flip side of some of that, people that I know that are on farms where those windmills are not placed, those windmills may be placed within viewing of that farm. And sometimes, you know, when you sit out on a nice summer night and you see in the distance some of those windmills, it's not as pleasant as seeing the sunset or something like that.
There's trade-offs with all kinds of energy development, right? And I guess that's why what we're doing here today is so important, because our members are literally having those conversations with each other. You know, sharing those different perspectives is something that happens on this delegate floor today, which is great.
Well, Brandon, you mentioned it before we started talking here about solar energy, and in the southern part of the states, that is a kind of energy that farmers need to be aware of.
Yeah, who would have thought, right? In the state of Ohio, that you have potential for larger and larger scale solar development taking place, particularly in the southern part of the state. We're starting to see more and more solar companies who are looking for landowners that are willing to lease land for the development of larger scale solar energy, and that's a really interesting thing. At the same time, again, the same considerations you have with wind development. As a landowner, there are certain things that you need to, you know, certain questions that you need to ask, certain things you need to be aware of when these companies are coming to you and asking to develop that type of energy process on your land.
You know, I waited until the end to mention, I guess, maybe the kind of energy that most everybody is aware of oil and gas and the pipelines that is needed to take that product away for it to be used for energy. That's something that farmers, I think, know they need to, well, maybe have legal representation or at least know what the ramifications are of allowing that to go through their land.
Yeah, it's critical because these pipelines are crisscrossing the state now, everywhere from, you know, clear up in the northeastern part of the state where you think about a lot of oil development goes on. But when you're talking about pipelines and moving that product to places to be able to hit the market, you know, there's a pipeline development going through right down through south central Ohio, through Hocking County and Vinton County and points, you know, south of there. Not a place where you immediately think about a lot of oil and development going on, but those landowners have a whole other set of issues to think about with the pipeline coming through and being placed on their land. So that's something that we spend a lot of time on. We have a person on staff, Mr. Dale Arnold, who does nothing but pretty much hits the road, talks to Farm Bureau members and landowners about the important things that they need to think about when that type of development's happening in their backyard.
Well, I think Dale's been doing that for 15 or 20 years, having meetings, and back in the day, I've attended some of those meetings, but that's an ongoing thing that farmers need to be aware of. If farmers have some questions about some of that, should they go to their local attorney, or what's the best way for them to find out about more information?
Well, there's definitely a number of avenues. You know, I would encourage them to become Farm Bureau members and be able to tap into that great resource that Mr. Arnold is for us. Certainly on Ohio Farm Bureau's website, ofbf.org, we have some resources designated to that. We've got a lawyer and a list of lawyers who we direct farmers to be able to pick from, and they've kind of gone through a little bit of a vetting process, so that we're saying this group of lawyers has the expertise to be able to help you through these specific sets of issues when you're talking about energy development. So all of those resources is something that our organization are trying to provide to landowners across the state.
So it's wise for that farmer, when he first hears or first starts talking about something like that, don't sign on the dotted line until he has all the information.
Yeah, that's one of Dale's big things is, folks, go seek out some expertise and advice before you sign anything, because that's critically important. Once you've signed on the line, you're locked in.
Well, Brandon Kern has been our guest, the guru with Farm Bureau of all things energy. I guess I could say it that way. It's easier to say than your title.
And a few other things, yes, and a few other things.
Okay, Brandon Kern has been our guest. Thanks for being with us.
All right, thanks very much.
And stay with us, back with more right after this.
Hi, I'm Richard Lynch. Hey, if you like the new sound coming out of Nashville with all the bro country, we're not going to get along at all. We ain't going to have any of that in our show. If you like the real country music, George, Merle, Mel, come see us. We love to have you here at the farm or anywhere around the country. We're going to come see you. Come listen to real country music. Thanks for listening.
Next time you need tires, get your set designed to make getting there half the fun. BF Goodrich passenger and light truck tires combine performance-driven technology with classic American style to create a tire that delivers outstanding handling and great looks. Whether you enjoy rocking around the clock or creeping on chrome, we deliver the look you demand at a price you can afford. It's the easiest performance upgrade you can make for your car or truck. See the BF Goodrich tire experts at Miller Brothers Tire in Uniopolis. Hot wheels and cool deals since 1954. Allen Davis Insurance Agency, with 30 years commitment to the community, providing quality insurance services. Allen is a business owner and an active farmer, and he knows firsthand the pressures of running your farming operation. Call Allen today and ask about coverage for your farm, your vehicles, your equipment, crops, and more. Call 1-800-686-2148. That's 1-800-686-2148.
United Equity Inc. is your locally owned farm-based cooperative. For agronomic services, we offer seed and a full line of dry and liquid fertilizer, as well as soil sampling by soil type, grid, or management zone to best utilize your fertilizer application. Call us to discuss agronomic services customized for you. Reach your best yields with United Equity, serving Allen, Auglaize, Mercer, Putnam, and Van Wert counties. Visit us on the web at unitedequityinc.com.
Welcome back. I'm Larry Boniface with Propel Automation of Ohio, and today we are here with fourth-generation farmer Paul Gossard. Paul, could you tell us a little bit of why we're here today?
Yeah, today we're having an open house for a new cage-free facility that me and my family has built in the last 2 years. It's state-of-the-art, made by Techno Equipment. It houses 400,000 birds in 2 high-rise buildings. And today's the open house before we start bringing birds in here in a couple weeks.
Okay, Paul, I understand this is a family business, and can you tell me some of the roles that your family will be involved with in this operation?
Yeah, like I said, I'm going to run the whole facility. I'm going to come over and run the whole facility, and my wife is going to be part of the processing and paperwork. My mom's going to help with the processing and paperwork also, and then we also have some cousins and nephews and some distant family that's going to help us as fill-ins and full-time employees.
Okay, Paul, can you tell us a little bit about the farm's background and your background, and how you decided to go this route?
Okay, yes, I'm a fourth-generation grain farmer. My family started on this site 4 generations ago. My great-grandma Ruth and Jack Gossard started a grain farm, and also they had 3,000 chickens in the 40s they raised. And since then, we got out of the chickens, went all grain farm, and then we had a farrow to finish sow operation from the 70s to 90s. We since got out of that in the 90s and went strictly all grain farm. As of now, our family farms 3,800 acres right now, crop, soybeans and wheat and corn. And then we decided to diversify our farm again and decided to get back into livestock, and that's where we are today. We looked into multiple operations, hog, we looked into some turkey, and then poultry, and it's led us into the poultry industry, and that's where we're at today.
Okay, so the facility, other than supplying the consumer with cage-free eggs, it also supplies you with a lot of organic fertilizer to be used on your crop farm. Could you tell us how many acres you able to use this on?
Yeah, this facility, when it's fully running, will produce roughly 4,600 ton of manure a year. We will then soil sample all of our fields, and it's a 3-year rotation, the soil sample. We will grid sample the fields, and based on the grids, we will apply manure to the levels that we are allowed to do by ODA guidelines.
Paul, I would like to congratulate you on your open house here. if they would like more information, where, is there a website they can go to, or?
Yeah, we're going to make a Facebook page. We haven't got that out yet, but right now, if anybody has questions or concerns that I have not addressed, you can email me at happyyolks@yahoo.com. That's all one word, happyyolks@yahoo.com.
Fence Row Records proudly presents Mending Fences, the latest pure country album from Richard Lynch, featuring a beautiful duet with Rhonda Vincent. Available now at all fine music outlets and richardlynchband.com. That's Mending Fences from Richard Lynch. Pick up your copy today and check out our website at richardlynchband.com. United Equity Inc. is your locally owned farm-based cooperative. For agronomic services, we offer seed and a full line of dry and liquid fertilizer, as well as soil sampling by soil type, grid, or management zone to best utilize your fertilizer application. Call us to discuss agronomic services customized for you. Reach your best yields with United Equity, serving Allen, Auglaize, Mercer, Putnam, and Van Wert counties. Visit us on the web at unitedequityinc.com. Allen Davis Insurance Agency, with 30 years commitment to the community, providing quality insurance services. Allen is a business owner and an active farmer, and he knows firsthand the pressures of running your farming operation. Call Allen today and ask about coverage for your farm, your vehicles, your equipment, crops, and more. Call 1-800-686-2148. That's 1-800-686-2148. That's going to do it for this week's edition of In Ohio Country Today. Want to thank the Ohio Farm Bureau Federation and the Gossard family for our feature stories. And as always, if you want more information, check us out on the web at inohiocountry.com. That's inohiocountry.com. Have a good day, everybody.